Hey, you in the reselling industry, do you have an antique shop, a booth, a cabinet, do you work the antique fairs? Ever noticed how some people just come up? They might come into your store, look at a couple of things, and off they go. Or they come into your shop, they look at the first one or two display cabinets, and then their eyes glaze over. And you'd think to yourself, but you haven't got to the best pieces yet. Do you ever wonder why they do that and how you can fix that issue? Well, today's video, we're going to discuss presentation, we're going to discuss best practices, we're going to discuss pricing, we're going to discuss how to keep the customer interested. So if this is a video that sounds like it might resonate with you, stick around. I'm going to go through it all step by step on how you can improve your sales through presentation. Now, what you need to understand is you need to understand the customer's experience. They're not coming into a shop for a specific item. If they come into an antique fair, an antique shop, a car boot sale, anything, they come in for a browse and for a wander. If they see something they like, or if they're a collector, fair enough, they might be looking for a specific thing. But majority of people are coming in just to have a browse around and see what piques their interest. Now, first impressions count. If they walk into, we're going to use an antique shop as our base tool or our base example. But bear in mind that everything we're talking about with the shop refers to stalls, car boot sales, cabinets, anything. It all relates right away through. So let's say, for example, now you have a stall that looks beautiful, full of ceramics and glass and china like Granny's old display cabinet. And as beautiful as it is, they walk in, they see one or two stalls or one or two cabinets, and they think, it's nothing I haven't seen before. My mum got that. I got that in the house. Do you want to buy some of that? How many times have you had figurines or old country roses pieces in the cabinet and people come up to you, oh, do you want to buy any more of that? Because they've seen it 100,000 times. Right? You need to intrigue them, get their interest going. You want someone to come in your shop and think, wow, I've never seen that before. Or, that's really interesting. I love the way they've done that. When they leave the shop, you want them to be thinking positively about the shop and their visit. As you know, people make their first impressions very, very quick. And if you can capture their interest in the first couple of seconds, in the first cabinets or the first bit of the stall they look at, then you potentially going to keep them looking through the rest of the stall, because once you've caught their curiosity and their interest, they're already thinking, okay, well, I like that bit. Even if I don't like this, I like that, so I'll see what else they got. So it's very, very important to capture that interest, that curiosity, that spark at the beginning. Because let's be honest, right? We want our customers to be intrigued, excited, prompting them to explore more of what we got to offer, and ultimately, hopefully, ending in a purchase. Okay, so I've had multiple debates with myself and other colleagues. And those of you who follow my channel know I had a shop for quite a few years, and I've worked the markets and antique fairs for decades. Do you put high-end items at the front? Do you put high-end items at the front? It's great. They look amazing. You can attract some serious buyers, people with real money. But then the downside to that is you're putting off people who may be on a budget or just want to come and have a browse and come in and think, oh my God, that's expensive. I am not even going to walk around that shop. Or do you go the other way and you put the cheap and the affordable items first? That's great, because anybody coming in off the street then for a little browse will go, oh, that's cute, that's cheap, I can afford that, I can afford that. But then it may put off serious collectors. They might come in and think, oh, this is just a junk shop, it's nothing decent in here, and turn around and walk out or just give up. So you need a balanced approach. And what I tend to do is I'll put some of my more interesting pieces at the front, irrelevant of price. Sometimes I will put really high-end items in with, I might put £1,000 item in with a £10 item. It isn't about the price for me. It's about the interest, how interesting the items are. Is someone going to come in and think, oh my God, I have never seen that before. What the heck is it? Or are they going to come in and go, At the end of the day, when I had the shop, I used to change it around all the time. I was always running experiments. I was always testing things. And sometimes I even tried just having all jewellery at the front. And then I tried having all ceramics and glass with the jewellery at the back. You name it, I tried everything. I even tried, did the music I played in the shop affect the mood of people walking around? And even that had an impact. Everything in a shop has an impact. How you display it, where it's displayed, what it's displayed with, the music you're listening to, everything affects how the customer walks around your facility and whether they buy or not. So, as I said, I recommend a balanced approach of interesting, quirky, unusual items. You can fit a couple of run-of-the-mill pieces in with it, it doesn't matter. But as long as this piece is there to grab their attention, that is the most important thing you can do. Now, less is more. Decluttering for focus is the best way I can put this. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen my videos I done when I go down to the pumping station in Cardiff. It's a big antique centre. Well, anyway, downstairs in the antique centre, the bottom floor, there's rooms, units. And there's one unit in particular that has some absolutely lovely pieces in there. I'd love to get a photograph of a few, but I'm not down in the Cardiff. Let me just paint a picture for you. The room is probably 10 or 12 foot square. And whilst most people may fit 500 or 1,000 pieces in there, displayed beautifully, this shop has probably got 50,000 pieces in there. So instead of one or two plates on display nicely, they got 10 or 20 plates stacked on top of each other. Instead of 6 or 7 vases on a shelf so you can see each one and focus on each one, they probably got 50 on the same shelf, cluttered on top of each other. You're scared to pick something up in case you knock it over. There is also no walking room. The room is 12 foot square, yet you've literally got enough room to get one person, maybe two at a push in the room, but you can't even turn around for fear of knocking stuff over. It is that overcrowded. Now, first of all, when you're that overcrowded, buyers, they come in, they go, oh my God, they can't see the wood for the trees. They just don't want to know. It's too much. It's in their face. They can't focus on nothing. No, it's great for trade like me because we know we used to dealing with clutter. We used to looking through junk and everything else and filtering out the gem. But majority of the public will go in there, they go, and back out for fear of breaking something. Right? The power of space. If you've got 50 vases on the shelf and nobody can focus on any particular one, you're not going to sell anything. But yet, if you've got, let's say for argument's sake, a really nice Dalton or Clariscliffe vase, you give it the room it deserves. Give it a bit of space. All of a sudden, when you go like that, you can see the vase on its own. Bit of space around it. If you want a little tag with a description, show the price, and they know exactly what it is. They can see it, they focused on it, do they like it? The power of space. Give an item the power and the space it deserves. Now, if space is limited and you only have a small room, small unit, right, then rotate your stock. Have 10 boxes of stock at home, 10 boxes of stock displayed nicely in your shop. Whatever haven't sold for a few weeks, bring it home. Take new stock into the shop. I don't just mean rotating, moving it around the shop. Take it out of the shop. I used to hold 3 locations. And what I mean by that is I had units up in Bartlett Street in Bath. I had display places in Cardiff. And I had some in my own shop here. And what I would do, I would take 3 or 4 boxes out of the shop here, take them to Cardiff, go from Cardiff 3 or 4 boxes to Bath, and from Bath back to my shop. And I used to rotate the stock through the shops. And then it's different, brand new stock every week. If people are coming in and they're seeing the same stock week in, week out, they're going to get bored. They're not going to keep coming back. They're going to think there's never anything new. What's the point? Or even worse, they're going to think it's the same stock week in, week out. They're obviously not selling nothing. There's nothing in there worth having. It's all overpriced and nothing is selling. And that is not a message you want them to associate with your business. Rotate the stock, move it around, keep it fresh, keep it clean. This goes back to the video I done recently on tracking everything, tracking your sales, tracking your interest, tracking your customers. If the more you track, the more understanding you'll have of your business. Right? Let's say, for argument's sake, you've done your display this way in the window, and your customers are down. Next week, you change your display in your window, and all of a sudden you've got more customers. Now you could say, okay, well, it was just a busier week, or was it you done a better display? And then the week after, you can focus more on that second display and see whether you can increase more customers. Tracking. Go and watch my video on tracking. Right, it'll be in the description. The video link will be in the description if anybody wants it. But you want to rotate your stock. Right, major. You want to rotate it. Maybe do themed sections. I know friends of mine in Pontypridd, Anagram Antiques, they have a little section on teawares where she has a beautiful section of teacups and saucers and jugs and things like that. And it's a beautiful little section. Or she has teddy bears that are all dressed with jewellery on. They're in the Pontypridd market if you want to go and check them out. Basically, you want to guide your customers through the shop on a journey, and the journey has to be interesting. If you pick a book up and you read 3 or 4 pages of that book and it's crap, you're going to put the book down. If that book's interesting and it's guiding you through a journey and it's keeping you interested and it's on your edge of your seat, that's where you're going to keep going, you know. And this is exactly the same. Give the items the space they deserve, display the pieces better. If you got a cabinet full of ceramics and you haven't sold a vase or a pot out of there for 3 months, then consider taking it all home. Take the lot home. Take the full cabinet home and put a brand new cabinet in there and experiment and try. And keep a record of what sales. Now, you already know, let's say for argument's sake, you haven't sold nothing in that cabinet for 3 months. Put jewellery in it, put coins in it, put metalware in it, put anything you want in it, and then record the next month or the next 2 months or the next 3 months. And did you get any sales then? And if so, what sold? And then can you focus more on that? Displaying the pieces correctly is vital. Right? Take your time, clean the items, use proper display stands, proper tags, things like that. Make it look professional, make it look beautiful. Now, I've just mentioned briefly there tags and descriptions and things like that. It's a running debate. Do you display the price on an item? First of all, you can display a price on an item and people can come in and they walk around and then they leave. If they don't like the item or the price, they don't talk to you. Or you don't display the price on an item, in which case if they want something, they have to then start a dialogue. Now, there's many different ways of thinking about this, but let me give you my experience. If I go to an antique centre and I can't see the prices, I don't bother asking. I'm a dealer, and the last thing I want to do, right, is go back to the front desk and say to the people there, do you mind coming to open the cabinet for me? Because even though it is their job and they get commission on the sales, I can guarantee you they always sigh and they always feel awkward, and especially when you get there and they go, oh my God, look at the price on that, no thank you, put it back down, and then you feel like you've wasted their time. Ultimately, if it's your own shop and you're there and you want people to engage with you, that's your preference. I'm just telling you how I feel when I go out buying. Now, you can start dialogues without having to be about a price. Right. Now, what I like to do is I like to display the item beautifully. I have a little piece that says what it is and the price, and I like it displayed. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, there's no shocks when people see the price or when they know the price. And then if we're talking about the item, we already know they've established the price point. And they can afford the item, which means they're going to engage more. Now, you can always say, you can always have a sign up if you wanted that you are prepared to negotiate. Now, I used to think fixed negotiation was better as opposed to letting people come in and knock you down. Now, I've always had a problem with these shows like Bargain Hunt and Antiques Road Trip and things like that. There's nothing worse out there for us, in my opinion, than where these antique dealers go into shops, they knock somebody down by 60, 70%, go to auction, and then make a couple of pounds or even a loss still. Then the general public thinks they can come into us and knock us down by 60, 70%. It's not realistic. Basically, people give the Antiques Road Trip and Bargain Hunt and things huge discounts, take massive losses just for the advertisement, in my opinion. I used to have a set 10% in the shop, or if it was something that came in really cheap and it was an expensive item, I'd consider a bit more, but I used to stick to a standard 10%. But you can negotiate with people. But understand this, not everybody, if you don't display the prices, not everybody's going to be comfortable enough to ask you a price. They could be on a budget, they could feel uncomfortable, they could be awkward asking you a price or saying no. If the prices are displayed, that's half a battle. You can still communicate and negotiate and talk to your buyers without hiding the prices. That's just my opinion. It has to be however you see best. But for me, I always displayed my prices. I wanted people to know the price of my things. But there's other ways you can talk to people. Best practices for running an antique shop, a stall, a booth, a car boot sale table, anything. First of all, align your presentation with the shop's brand. Now, if you want to know what branding is, again, I've done a video on branding, how to build a brand. A brand is basically association. You want to associate your products, your name, your shop with a feeling of wow, of interest, of curiosity, of desire, right? And good standing and trust and good quality. These are all positives you want to align with your name, and that's called branding. So whatever message you want to get across in your shop, your branding, you want to make sure your shop aligns with your branding. And if you want to know more about branding, go and watch my video I done on branding. Now, customer engagement. As I've already said, you can use pricing by hiding the price to start customer conversations. However, you could display the prices, which means everybody's more comfortable, and you can still greet your customers. You can have a friendly, warm greeting message, standard message. Let's say, for argument's sake, you could say, welcome, thank you for coming in. My name's Walter O'Neill, and if there's anything in the cabinets you'd like to look at or anything else you'd like to discuss, I'm here and more than willing to assist. But I will give you a little space to have a wander around, but if you need me, you only need to give me a little wave. You could have a little greeting, anything along them lines, right? You can ask questions. Let's say a customer's bought something off you, right? You can ask them, do you collect certain things? Is there anything you would like to see in the shop in the future? Is there anything you'd like me to change? Is it any tips or any points you would like to see different in the shop? For all they might turn around and say, yes, a little expensive for my taste. In which case, then you can probably start thinking, if a few people are saying that, okay, I need to bring in some more cheaper items. Or, yeah, there's nothing really here high-end enough for me. Maybe you can bring in a nice couple of paintings or a couple of bits of high-end porcelain or something like that. When a customer shows interest or buys something, speak to them. Don't just wrap it up and give them the item. Build a rapport, talk to them, get to know them, ask them their name, make it personal. Introduce yourself, give them your name, ask them their name. Ask them maybe if they, let's say for argument's sake, now they collect Chinese porcelain, you say, okay, we run a book where we take customers' numbers if they wish, and anytime we have anything along them lines come in, we can give a text message. So if you'd be interested, we could do follow-ups. If I get Chinese porcelain vase in, I'm more than happy to text you and say we've had new Chinese in and you're welcome to come and view. That type of message, you could talk to them that way. Wrapping this stuff up in presentation, I can't emphasize to you, right? How many of you go to a charity shop now, right? They don't wrap your item, and if they do, they wrap it crap, and they charge you 10, 20, 30 pence for a second-hand bag. Do you know, It didn't matter if it was £1,000 item or a £10 item. I wrapped it with a smile, I wrapped it with care and bubble wrap, put it into a bag, and I thanked them. I made them all feel exactly the same, whether it was a £10 item or a £1,000 item. It's the experience. It's not about the sale. Treat every customer the same, right? You don't know what they're going to come back and buy next week. Just because they spent £10 this week doesn't mean they're not going to spend 500 next week. Treat them with respect, treat them with care, and be grateful for your custom, and it will come across to them and they will feel appreciated and they'll come back. Now, I've already mentioned that I put little cards on some of my items. Now, what I mean by that is I'm not going to write a full description. Let's say I got a Roald Dalton figurine. It's just going to be Roald Dalton figurine, whatever the name is, and a price. But let's say, for argument's sake now, I got a real nice piece of Chinese porcelain. Since I've already used Chinese porcelain, we stick to it. Now, this could be a piece of Chinese porcelain from the Qinglong period, 1760, 1770, somewhere around there. And you want to give the full history of it. You want to tell them where it's come from, Zhengzhen. It's hand painted, it's porcelain, it's 260-year-old, whatever. You want to tell them everything about it. You give a nice detail on the. What I used to do is black card with you can get like gel pens. I used to use silver or gold gel pens on black card. Oh God, it popped off beautifully. Then you put the price and you give it plenty of room so it looks amazing. Even if I give one item to a shelf, I wouldn't care. If it was that good and I wanted it to stand out, I'd give it a shelf all on its own. So the only thing they could look at on that shelf is that one item. Right? But that's what I used to do. I'd give, if it warranted a story, I'd give it a story. Now, Kieran, Taliesin Antiques, he's just started his own website recently and his own YouTube channel. Check it out. Anyway, one thing I did like, I watched his one of his first videos, welcome videos and that, and he actually gives every item on his website a little story, a history behind it. I don't do that. And it really adds value. Now, for me, I just go in and I just say what it is, the size, the condition, and so forth. But I really did like the way he done his descriptions. He put the care in, he talked a bit about the history and the provenance of the, let's say it was Cleanliness, he talked about when Cleanliness started, where it originated, that type of thing. So I display the history and the story of unique items will definitely add value and interestingness to your shop, curiosity. Right. I used to buy things to go in the shop, not because I wanted to make a profit on them. Sometimes I'd break even and I'd buy it knowing I'd break even or even take a small loss. But it was so unique, so interesting and so wonderful. I wanted it in the shop to draw people in. Loss leaders, I've done that a couple of times. But as I've said, treat all customers as VIPs. Treat them all with the respect and attention they deserve, regardless of size of the item, size of the purchase. It's a positive experience. You want them leaving the shop thinking, I'm going back there. Now, cleanliness and tidiness. I used to dust my shop. I used to start on the Monday, working my way through the cabinets, and by the time I finished on the Friday, I'd start then on the Monday back again. So every day I was cleaning, rearranging and making sure my cabinets were full and clean and presented well. I'd hoover, I'd wipe all the worktops down. If you've got glass cabinets with jewellery in, you have no idea how many people's hands go all over it and how stinking they get, right? Make sure the presentation and the cleanliness of the shop is perfect. Make sure you are well presented. Trim your beard. Wear clean, presentable clothes. Have a haircut. How you present yourself reflects on how your shop is. Remember, they want to come in. If they come in and they see a scruffy shop, a dirty shop, you haven't bothered cleaning your products, let's say you've got an Old Country Roses tea set there and it's still nicotine stained, they're going to look at that and think, I ain't paying a premium price for that. It's stinking dirty. You got to wash it myself. Presentation, cleanliness. Make sure everything is sparkling clean and beautifully presented, including yourself. Now, a welcoming environment. So you want to make sure it's a comfortable, pleasant shopping atmosphere with soft lighting, a good layout, a good flow. Make sure it all flows. As I've already mentioned to you, the type of music you play in your shop affects the mood of your buyer. I tried it with some jazz. I tried it with some radio. I tried it, you name it. Even Christmas time, I made sure I played Christmas music because Christmas music in a shop at Christmas time distills urgency in people to buy. So yeah, I love that one. So yeah, even the background music, the goal is to make the customer feel relaxed to browse. It's not about getting them to buy, it's about making them enjoy the experience of looking around your shop or your stall or your cabinet, whatever it is you're doing. Now, after sale service, how many of you, right, thought about saying, would you like to leave an email address or a phone number as standard? And you can do after sales service. So, for example, we've already talked about asking them if they want to go in the book to be notified of future collectibles if there's something they collect. Now, what is to say you can't automatically say, can we have your email address or your name and number, anything along them lines? A lot of people will say no. Email address isn't really a problem, but phone numbers would be. But you could always say, can I have your email address, and do after sales service. You do a follow-up note saying thank you very much for your purchase and just showing your appreciation for the business, leave a positive impression. You could offer advice or resources on how to care for the item they've purchased. So let's say they've purchased a bit of jewelry. You can say to them, oh, a bit of solid silver. Be careful how you clean it. This is how you clean it. Send them a little instruction on how to clean the solid silver, not to ruin it. Because solid silver is such a soft metal. You've got to use special cleaning materials not to rub the hallmarks off, things like that. So you could do after sales service. And you do after sales service, right? That will go a long way. Now, what you got to realize is people, when they think of going shopping for gifts, the first thing you want to do is you want them to think of you. You want your business to pop in their head. And the more positive you can be for the customer, the more they're going to think of you. Now, creating the right flow in your shop, your booth, your stall is key. Now, you want to avoid dead spots if you can. You want to avoid people feeling trapped. Now, if you can go in, walk around, and back out, fabulous. You've got to make sure your stock flows. Right, you want a good flow and movement in your stock and interest in all the way through. But you don't want people going into dead ends where they feel claustrophobic or stuck, and you don't want them getting stuck in by other people where they can't move because then they're going to think, I got to get out of here. You want people to have enough space to move around. I wouldn't sacrifice a bit of space for the customer's comfort to have an extra rail in the middle of the floor. I made sure I could fit at least a dozen people in my shop when I had the shop without them feeling cramped in, claustrophobic, and trapped. And if I could, I'd make interactive displays where they could try on hats. If I had some nice hats or military hats or walking canes, they could handle them. There's certain things I'd allow them to handle and hold and interact with because they just like to touch. They like to get involved and handle the things, and the very expensive items and jewellery now were all behind glass. However, I tried to make it an interactive display for them so they could flow through the shop and they could handle things, they could look at things. It was interesting. Now you've got a couple of ways you can display your stuff, right? As long as you're creating a memorable display, it doesn't matter, right? Some people want all the military together. Some people want all the glass together. Some people want all the ceramics and the jewellery together. Do you know, I used to find I'd mix it all. I could put 200-year-old Georgian or 250-year-old Georgian glass vase in with a bit of WMF, arts and crafts, or even a mid-century modern bit of ceramics, West German ceramics. Antique dealers seem to have the ability of mixing old and modern and making it work. And that mix, in my opinion, made it much more interesting because let's say, for argument's sake, you don't have an interest in Georgian glass. You'd skip that cabinet. You don't have an interest in jewellery. You'd skip that cabinet. You don't want someone just coming in, cherry picking the cabinets they look in. So if you mixed the display all the way through, but making sure it's interesting in every cabinet, you want to make sure every cabinet has interest and curiosity, and I'm trying to think. You want quality. Things you want your shop and your displays associated with is quality, fairness of price, interest in, curiosity. Basically, you want them to come in and think, I've never seen that before anywhere else. That is what you want. I used to have lighting. My cabinets all came with a light in the middle, but it weren't enough. So I bought LED strips and I run them around the fronts of the doors, pointing inwards. And every cabinet was beautifully lit. So make sure adequate lighting and make your items really look amazing. My conclusion, you got to make the items on the shop or the stall or the table interesting. I've shared many videos with hundreds of tips. One of the tips I used to use to make sure people could interact with stuff, going back to the interaction, I had a table. I used to buy buckets of coins. And I'd take all the silver and gold out, I'd take all the rare coins out, and I would pour what's left into a massive tray. And I would say to people, you're welcome to come in, rummage through that tray. I started off at £1 a coin. I think by the end, I was selling 50p a coin, but I'd done hundreds and hundreds of pounds at £1 a coin. And, people didn't come in because they collected coins when they were in there. They rummaged through it. The amount of people who were looking for a coin to match the date of birth, so 1950s or 1966, or you name it, they'd come in and they'd look for a coin for the year they were born, and they'd be rummaging through the coin. I'd make it interesting that way for them. And sometimes if they bought a few other things and they'd picked up a couple of coins or something, I'd say, have the coins. Make them feel really appreciated and special. But I always done a mixed interesting approach. It was always clearly priced to avoid awkwardness, in my opinion. It was balanced engagement. I always welcome people in. I always thank them for coming in and having a look around. I always talk to people, asking them what their interests were and things like that. I also allowed them a little of their own time to browse without feeling under pressure. I never employed a strong tactic of heavy-handed sales. I'll talk to people. I'll ask them what they're interested in. I'll welcome them. I'll talk to them in general if they're talking to me back. If someone's interested in talking or not, if they're giving you a blunt one-word answer, shutting you down, give them some space. Don't push it. Treat them, though, if they buy something, don't worry how much it is. Treat them like a VIP. Best practices, remember the best practices. It's really, really important. Basically, I think the key for me is creating a memorable experience for the customer. And that doesn't come from just the stock or just the service or just the facility. It comes from everything. How they feel when they come out to your shop or from having looked at your stall and talked to you is what's going to set them apart to come back. If you got people coming in and they never come back, you got to start thinking to yourself, okay, what am I doing wrong? If you got people coming in and you got 10, 20 customers in a day and you're not getting any sales, you got to then think, okay, is there something wrong with my stock? Is there something wrong with my display? Or is something wrong with my pricing? Or is there something wrong with me? Am I not engaging correctly? There are many videos you can look at online teaching you or helping you to understand how to engage with customers correctly, because you can come across as too overpowering and too strong and you can push them back out the door. You can come across, if you sat there on your mobile phone ignoring your customer, they can go, you ain't even cared if I'm buying. There's so many different ways. The more personal and the better experience you can give your customer, the more they'll come back and the more they'll want to buy. Anyway, I hope you found that video helpful and interesting. I will turn it into an article as well for the website if anybody wants to read my insights on the website. The website's antiquesarena.com. I got thousands of items on there, loads of articles on there, and it's just a wonderful space for you to have a browse. If you like this video, then I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube, all designed. Even my haul videos are designed. Yes, I share the products I buy, but I'm giving you tips on how to find them, how to identify them, and I have videos on everything teaching you about antiques and how to be a successful reseller. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.